Maria's case reflects a medical model view of disability, where disability is seen as an individual problem that needs to be fixed or separated. The principal's statement says that the school cannot handle children like her, reflects an exclusionist attitude, common historically where people with disabilities were excluded from mainstream education and society. It also demonstrates segregationist practices by suggesting a SPED center 3 hours away, implying children with disabilities are better educated in separate facilities rather than included in regular schools. Segregation reinforces the idea that disabled children cannot be integrated into mainstream education. The parents' limited understanding of disabilities also reflect a historical lack of public awareness and education about disability.
Global inclusion principles in Maria's situation. Maria's case is a powerful example of why inclusive education matters. Global principles tells us that children with disabilities should learn in their own communities, not be segregated or denied opportunities. The UNCRC and UNCRPD guaranteed her right to free quality education in her local school. The Salamanca Statement and even SDG 4 stress that no child should ever excluded because of disabilities.
Now let's talk about social model framework, wherein social view Maria's inability to attend school because of social issues resulting from the school lacks of proper training as well as lack of resources that Maria's need. The second one is teacher should train to use flexible and inclusive strategies while creating a supportive environment or school for students like Maria. And the third one is parents, the barangay, as well as the school should work together or collaborate together to provide and create an accessible and inclusive learning within the community. Now let's talk about the concept and the definitions. Using the social versus medical model frameworks, it can use to identify the barriers that Maria's faces. So the first one is a medical model framework wherein Maria's disability is viewed as the main issue and her Down syndrome is considered the reason why she unable to attend schools. The second one is Maria is advised to go to a SPED center to receive a specialized support intended to help her with her condition. And the third one is parents must find treatment or special education support in facilities outside their area. So let's talk about UDL. So UDL is all about making learning flexible and accessible for information to everyone. So no matter their abilities or challenges, like for Maria, this means creating a classroom or environment where she feels included, supported, and able to succeed in her own way. So by giving a multiple ways to understand and access all information, we make learning more inclusive. So the first one is multiple means of representation, or the question what. Um, the first is visual and auditory representation of information. So this means providing information using both visuals and auditory or sounds. Visuals like picture, charts, videos, written text, and when it comes to sounds like spoken instructions, songs, audio recordings. Because as we all know, some students understand better when they can see something, and while other students can learn better by hearing. So combining those both strategies may help students like Maria to process lessons, even those difficult topics. The second one is hands-on activities to make lesson understandable. So this involves giving students opportunities to physical interact to materials and to better understand concept by doing these activities like touching, moving, building, experimenting. So basically, it supports students who struggle with abstract or purely verbal explanations. And the third one is supports for perceptions and comprehensions. So this means providing extra tools and strategies to make it easier for students to notice and focus on it. And it makes sense of information as well. So some students may miss important details, get confused by complex texts or difficult topics, or they need extra scaffolding to understand. Example of that, using a larger fonts when it comes to the presentation, or we can highlight keywords or provide organized graphic, or by breaking lessons into smaller clear steps. Now let's proceed to multiple means of engagement, or the question why. The first one is fostering belonging, motivation, and social engagement. So students are more motivated when they feel they are part of a group and their contributions matter. So feeling that they are included may boost confidence and encourage them to participate. The second one is to have and provide a clear goals. So learners stay engaged when they know exactly what they are working toward. If they have a clear goals, it may reduce confusions and help them to focus their efforts. And the third one is to sustain emotional connection, connecting to lessons to students' lives, interests, and emotion may keep them to be motivated. So when they are learning, they feel meaningful. So students are more likely to stay focused. Now let's proceed to multiple means of action and expressions, or the questions how. The first one is to encourage creative expressions, allow students to use different forms of output, such as drawings, acting, or building models. Some learners express themselves better through art, or from movement, or they are creative, or other creative methods. Second one is to offer sentence starters or word banks. Provide helpful prompts or list of words to support communication. This reduces frustrations and gives students confidence to participate. And the third one is to have a guide self-reflection. Teach students to think about their own learning and progress. So self-reflections builds independence and help students to understand what strategy work for them.
Good day, everyone. Today we're looking at Maria's case study and discussing the difference between integrating and including her in school. So, the first is the integration. This means placing Maria into a regular school setting, but the school itself doesn't necessarily change much. Next is think of it as Maria having to adapt to the existing system. The school might allow her to attend, but the teaching methods, curriculum, and environment largely stay the same. And next, for Maria, this would this could mean she is physically present in the classroom, but without specific support or adjustment, she might struggle to fully participate, or learn effectively from the standard lessons. The principal's initial suggestions to send her to a SPED center rather than finding ways for her to learn at this local school leans towards a lack of readiness for integration, let alone inclusion. Next is the inclusion. This goes much further. Inclusion means the school system itself adapts to meet Maria's needs and the needs of all diverse learners. Next is it's about creating an environment where Maria isn't just present, but she genuinely belongs, participates, and learns alongside her peers. And for Maria, this would involve the local elementary school making changes. It would be teachers would receive training on how to support students with Down syndrome, and lessons would be modified or differentiated so she can understand and engage, especially using visuals, simpler language, and hands-on activities. And the last is the school culture would actively welcome and value individual differences. In summary, integration is about fitting the student into the system, while inclusion is about changing the system to fit the student. Inclusion creates a more supportive and effective learning environment for everyone, where Maria can use her communication skills and interests in drawing and music to learn and grow.
Filipino culture were rich in values like pakikipagkapwa-tao or shared humanity and bayanihan, which is community spirit, also grapples with certain beliefs and attitudes that can impact individuals with disabilities. One significant factor is the stigma surrounding disability. In some communities, disability is viewed through a lens of superstition, shame, or misunderstanding. This can stem from a lack of accurate information about the causes and nature of disabilities like Down syndrome. Family may fear social judgment or discrimination, leading them to conceal their child's disability or hesitate to seek educational opportunities. This is compounded by limited awareness or understanding of Down syndrome and the principles of inclusive education. Maria's parents, with their limited formal education, may not fully grasp Maria's potential to learn and thrive in a supportive educational environment. The principal's statements that the school cannot handle children like her reflects a broader issue of inadequate training and awareness among educators regarding inclusive practices and the specific needs of children with disabilities. This lack of understanding can lead to misperceptions about the capabilities of children with Down syndrome and the reluctance to provide them with the necessary support. Furthermore, the strong cultural emphasis on respect for authorities figures can influence how Maria's parents respond to the principal's assessment. In Filipino culture, teachers and school administrators are often highly respected and their opinion carry significant weight. This can make parents hesitant to question or challenge the principal's decision, even if they have concerns about its fairness or appropriateness. The deeply ingrained value of family centeredness also plays a role. While the strong family bond can be a source of strength and support, it can also create challenges if the family lack access to accurate information or resource. Decisions are often made collectively, and the well-being about the family as a whole is prioritized. In some cases, this can mean that the individual need of a child with disability are overlooked or not fully addressed, particularly if the family is struggling with um, economic hardships or other pressing concerns. Maria's situation significantly shaped by the geographic and economic realities of her rural community. Her location in a rural municipality in Mindanao presents a multitude of challenges in assessing quality of education. The local elementary school's limited resources, including a small number of teachers and the absence of SPED trained personnel, directly impact its capacity to provide. Maria with the individualized support she requires. Without specialized trainings and resources, teachers may feel equipped to address Maria's unique learning needs, leading to a reluctance to enroll her or a failure to provide her with an appropriate educational program. The distance to the SPED center in the provincial capital, a 3-hour journey by public transport, poses a formidable barrier for Maria family. The cost of transportation, which can be uh, substantial for low-income families, is a major deterrent. Additionally, the time required for travel this can be a significant burden, particularly for parents who work as farmers and rely on their daily labor on their livelihood. The logistical challenges of arranging transportation, securing childcare for other siblings, and taking time off from uh, work can make it virtually impossible for Maria's parents to access the SPED center on a regular basis. The economic realities of Maria's family further compound these challenges. As farmers, her parents like earn a modest and potentially seasonal income. They may struggle to afford basic necessities such as food, clothing, and shelter, let alone the additional expenses associated with sending Maria to school. These expenses can include family school fees, uniforms, books, and transportation costs. The lack of financial resources can limit Maria's access to other essential services, such as healthcare and therapy, which can further hinder her development and educational progress. The case also highlights the persistent issue of unequal distribution of educational opportunities between urban and rural areas in the Philippines. SPED centers, specialized programs, and trained professionals are often concentrated in the urban centers, leaving children in rural communities at a significant disadvantage. The disparity in access to resources perpetuates a cycle of inequality, limiting the opportunities for children with disabilities in rural areas.
What role does community leadership play? Community leadership is a vital for driving positive change and enhancing the well-being of community members. Included the setting a vision and goals, mobilizing resources, advocating for community interest, and fostering relationship and networks. Effective leaders proposes qualities such as vision, integrity, empathy, and resilience. The impact of strong community leadership manifests in improved quality of life, increased civic engagement, stronger social cohesion, and sustainable development.
So, what laws and policies support Maria's right to education? So, the Philippine Constitution, the Special Education Act, and the Magna Carta for Persons with Disabilities support Maria's right to education. It's mandating inclusive education and reasonable accommodation. So, these laws, including the Republic Act number 11650, it aims to guarantee educational opportunities for children with disabilities by promoting inclusion and requiring schools to address their unique learning needs. So, for example, given that Maria has Down syndrome, so the school maybe implement an individualized education program or IEP to cater for her specific learning style. What obligation that the school have under Philippine law? So, under the Philippine law, the school has the obligation to provide accessible and quality education to Maria. So, it makes reasonable accommodation and create an inclusive environment free from discrimination. So, the school is legally required to ensure that Maria can access education effectively. So, this means adapting their practices and environment to meet her needs and protecting her from unfair treatment. So, for example, to support Maria, the school could use visual aids to explain the concepts and provide her with extra time to complete her task and create opportunities for social interaction with her classmates.
International conventions such as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities or the UNCRPD advocate for exclusive education and prohibit discrimination based on the disability. These conventions emphasize the right to education for all children, regardless of their abilities, and promote the implementation of the inclusive practices in school, UNCRPD, and inclusive education. The UNCRPD requires that the state parties ensure equal access to primary and secondary education, vocational training, adult education, and lifelong learning for persons with disabilities. Article 24 of the Convention calls a state parties to ensure an inclusive education system at all levels, guaranteeing that persons with disabilities are not excluded from the general education system based on their abilities.
So here are the step-by-step plan for Maria's school enrollment. So first, initial consultation. So the parents meet with school staff to discuss Maria's needs, their SPED program, and the enrollment process, and to prepare a summary of Maria's developmental history. So second, assessment and evaluation. So the school SPED team will conduct assessment to understand Maria's academic level. So they can provide a learning style and they can provide her specific needs.
To effectively monitor Maria's progress and adjust the plan, consider the following steps. So, number one, regular check-ins. Schedule regular meetings with Maria, her teachers, and parents to discuss her program, progress, challenges, and the achievements. Number two, the academic tracking. Monitor Maria's grades, test scores, and assignment completion rates to identify areas of strength and weaknesses. Number three is the feedback collection. Gather feedback from Maria, her teachers, and peers to understand her experience and challenges. Number four is the progress reports. Review progress reports and um, report card to track Maria's academic performance and identify the trends.
Based on Maria's case study, here's how we can identify the support and modifications she needs. First is for communication. To support, since Maria communicates using simple words and phrases, she would benefit from visual aids, picture cards, and sign language to enhance her understanding and expression. For modifications, break the instructions into smaller, simpler steps and use clear, concise language. Next is for learning style. To support, Maria enjoys drawing and music, so incorporate these elements into her lessons to make learning more engaging and accessible. For modification, provide hands-on activities, sensory experiences, and opportunities for creative expressions to cater to her learning preferences. Next is for social interaction. To support, Maria enjoys being with other children, so create opportunities for peer interaction and collaboration in a structured and supported environment. And for the modifications, facilitate social skills and training, provide guidance on how to interact positively with her peers. And then for curriculum, to support, given the school limited resources and lack of trained personnel, it's crucial to adapt the curriculum to meet Maria's individual learning needs. And for the modifications, break down complex concepts into smaller, more manageable chunks and provide additional time and support for her to master each concept. And last is for the environment. To support, create a welcoming and inclusive classroom environment where Maria feels valued, respected, and supported. And for the modifications, ensure that the classroom is physically accessible and free from distractions and provide a designated quiet area where Maria can retreat if she feels overwhelmed.
For Maria to thrive, it's important to address any worries from teachers and the community about including her. Open conversations, training, and sharing positive stories can help everyone feel more confident and supportive. By working together and tackling concerns head on, we can create a welcoming school where Maria and all students with disabilities can succeed.
Addressing concerns of teachers and community. Of course, concerns are real. Teachers feel unprepared because most don't have SPED training. The communities worries that the school can't handle it. But these challenges are not barriers, they're opportunities. With basic training, teachers can gain confidence. With orientation and awareness, the community can see that inclusion benefits to everyone, not just Maria. When barriers are removed, the entire school culture become more compassionate and supportive.
Address concerns of school personnel and community. Practical solutions and sustainable implementation strategies for Maria's educational journey. Immediate actions. Advocacy and awareness. The barangay captain, leveraging their knowledge from the Inclusive Education Seminar, will conduct a meeting with the school principal and teachers to present the legal and ethical obligations of the school to provide inclusive education, emphasizing that exclusion is discriminatory and share success stories of inclusive education in similar settings. Community support mobilization. Organize a community meeting involving Maria's parents, the barangay captain, local health workers, and other community leaders to create support network for Maria and her family that can provide emotional support, share information, and assist transportation or other logistical needs. Initial assessment and planning. With the parents' consent, a local health worker or a volunteer teacher, he or she available, will conduct a basic assessment of Maria's skills and needs to identify Maria's strengths like drawings, music, or social interaction, and areas needing support, developing an initial individualized education plan or IEP, focusing on simple, achievable goals. Short-term strategies. Teacher training and capacity building. Organize training sessions for the school's teachers on inclusive education practices, utilizing online resources, webinars, and partnerships with NGOs or universities that offer SPED programs, focusing on practical strategies for adapting lesson and creating a supportive classroom environment. Resource mobilization. The barangay and school can jointly apply for grants from local government units or LGUs or NGO that support inclusive education using funds to purchase basic learning materials, adaptive equipment, and visual aids. Prioritizing low-cost locally available resources. Peer support system encourage interaction between Maria and her classmates through structured activities, implementing peer tutoring or buddy systems, where classmates assist Maria with her lessons and social interaction, fostering empathy and inclusion among all students.
Let's proceed in long-term sustainable strategies 1 to 3 years. First is the curriculum adaptation. Develop a long-term plan for adapting the curriculum to meet Maria's needs, focusing on functional skills and her interests. Integrating Maria's love for drawing and music into her lesson, and using visual aids and hands-on activities to enhance her understanding. The next one is the parental involvement and education. Conduct regular workshops for parents on understanding Down syndrome, supporting their child's education, and advocating for their rights. Uh, Providing information in simple, accessible language, and encouraging parents to share their experiences and support each other. The next one is networking and collaboration. Establish a partnership with the SPED Center in the provincial capital for ongoing and consultation, arranging for occasional visits from SPED specialists to provide guidance to the school and monitor Maria's progress. The next one is policy advocacy. Work with local government officials to develop and implement policies that support inclusive education in all schools, advocating for increased funding for SPED programs, teacher training, and resource for students with disabilities. To ensure the sustainability of Maria's educational journey, community ownership is essential, necessitating active involvement from all stakeholders. Continuous capacity building through ongoing teacher training and resource provision is crucial. Flexibility in regularly reviewing and adjusting Maria's individualized educational plan or IEP will address her evolving needs. Consistent advocacy for inclusive education at all governmental levels will further support these efforts. By implementing these practical strategies, Marias can receive the education she deserves, and the local school can foster a more inclusive environment for all children.